Yeah, let's just start with the simple stuff. What's it like having the Prime Minister here and you guys being here as well?
Actually, I'm Mr. Blair, Minister Randy Boissonnault. We're here and we're going to be joined very shortly by the Prime Minister, but one of the purposes for coming here is we know that the wildfires that have been impacting the people of Alberta have been very significant. People have been displaced from their homes. There's a great deal of concern. We received a request from the province to provide federal assistance through a request for assistance arrangement, and the Canadian Armed Forces, as they always do, have stepped up in order to provide that support. And so we're here, frankly, to talk to the soldiers about some of the important work that they're doing here in Alberta, and also to offer our sincere thanks, because we know their commitment, their dedication, and their expertise is really going to make a difference for the people of Alberta.
As Bill said, our government cares about what's happening to Albertans. We responded when Fiona took place, when the floods in Calgary took place, when the devastating Fort McMurray wildfires happened. And look, we're talking about still 20,000 people evacuated, and people's livelihoods, their farms, their animals, their very livelihood is at stake. And in some cases, we've seen communities devastated by this fire. So we're here because we care. We're supporting. We've got 300 CAF personnel on the ground in Alberta, and the whole of the Government of Canada is responding to make sure that Albertans are safe and that Albertans know that we care, but that when a disaster of this magnitude strikes, the federal government is there to respond in close collaboration with the Government of Alberta.
I'd also take the opportunity to mention that the Canadian Red Cross, the federal government, and the provincial government have agreed to a matching fund, so that with the incredible generosity of Canadians right across the country, and certainly here in Alberta, who are donating money to the Canadian Red Cross, both the province and the federal government are going to match it. And so far, cumulatively, between the three of us, over $10 million has been raised. That will continue over the coming weeks until the first week in June, and we believe that money can be used very effectively to help support people who have been displaced from their homes, who are dealing with a very, very difficult situation, and also provide support to a wide variety of community organizations who are there for Albertans during this time of incredible need.
And I guess the weather, it looks like it's going to continue like this, so you guys can ready to keep offering aid? Yeah,
to be quite honest with you, the weather, I think, has been an extraordinary factor in these fires. What we've seen is very high temperatures, conditions, beautiful. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Edmonton, but at the same time, these are actually conditions that give rise to a very significant likelihood of increased fire activity. The fire activity here in Alberta has begun earlier than normally expected. It's almost without precedent to have this level of fire activity in the province. Certainly, we track very carefully. I watch weather reports like I used to watch crime reports. But weather reports are very significant. It appears that these hot, dry, windy conditions could prevail over several days. And so clearly we are here for the long haul. And I think it's important to acknowledge, we know that those firefighters who have known they're doing an extraordinary and courageous job for all of us, they're going to get tired, they're going to need replacements. And so we're working very closely with not just other provinces across the country, but other countries, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and Mexico, to see if we can draw other firefighters to bring them here to assist the Canadian Armed Forces, to assist the wildfire firefighters here in Alberta. We also have significant challenges. There are fires burning in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Northwest Territories, and so we know that there is still more resources going to be required.
And the relationship of the government, the federal government to the provincial governments is we provide the support that's needed as long as it's needed, and well past when this makes headlines. So we need to work with our provincial counterparts to make sure that the fires are out. We're talking 84 fires, 27 are still out of control. We're still almost 20,000 people out of their homes, so there's still a lot of work ahead, and the hot, dry conditions are making this challenging for firefighters, but these are professional firefighters, and they're boosted now by some 300 personnel from the Canadian Armed Forces, so we're in this for the long haul.
And just to be clear before I ask the question, the province of Alberta is responsible for the emergency response here to this very difficult and challenging situation. Our responsibility is to be here in support of them, and we're working very closely with the province, and certainly through the Provincial Emergency Operations Centre, our Government Operations Centre. Our officials are working in extremely close collaboration to make sure that the federal government is here in support of the important work that the province is doing.
How is the government going to help those who have lost houses?
Well, damage is eligible for reimbursement. Now, it's the province's responsibility to design and implement a financial assistance arrangement to assist those individuals, and the federal government has what we call, and I manage this, a disaster financial assistance arrangement, where certain expenses are eligible for reimbursement by the federal government. And so what it requires is the province to establish an assistance arrangement, and we work very closely with them, and they'll do that. And they're well aware of the eligibility criteria, and for events of this magnitude where there is significant damage and loss, up to 90% of those recovery expenses can be reimbursed by the federal government, but it really is initiated by the province. We also know that those things take time, and it can cause some frustration and anxiety among Canadians. I just want to assure them that in the initial response, both orders, all orders of government, and that includes the municipalities, will be there for them. And as we go through a period of recovery, we'll work very closely with the province to make sure that the resources are there, not just certainly to help people with their businesses, their homes, their valued possessions, but also the impact that it can have on critical infrastructure, where water treatment plants and other things can be destroyed in some of these municipalities, and we want to make sure that we can get those up and running as quickly as possible.
And we want to just, maybe before we wrap up, just let everyone know we're sending our thanks and gratitude to all the first responders, and we're here to thank all the members of the Canadian Armed Forces who have responded to this call from the Government of Alberta, and we want to thank them and their families for standing up for Albertans and fellow Canadians at this time of need. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.